You might have often asked yourself, how much should you charge your client? £500, £1,000, or should you charge per lead? Or maybe put them on a monthly retainer? Now, if you're switching pricing models for every client, you're probably losing more than just cash. Pricing your services can feel like a guessing game, right? But it doesn't have to be. Today, I'm going to share with you the perfect way to price your agency. One that not only brings in more revenue, but also creates long-term client relationships. So with our agency, we've scaled to over 600 clients, and a huge portion of them pay us monthly for advertising. And it's not by luck, it's by using a solid, proven pricing strategy. Whether you're stuck between charging per lead or setting up a monthly retainer, I've got you covered. We'll dive deep into the pros and cons of all the pricing models. So by the end of this video, you'll have a crystal clear strategy to price your services effectively and scale your agency like a pro. So let's get started. Now, the first thing we're going to cover before we dive into pricing models is understanding your desired outcome. Different agencies and freelancers have different goals. Some agency owners or freelancers might be content just getting paid an hourly rate. They might think, I just want to get paid X amount per hour, work with a few clients a month, and that's enough for me. Then there are other agency owners who want to onboard as many clients as possible. They've got a bigger target in mind, like hitting 1 million a year or even 2 million. So you really need to figure out what your goal is. How big do you want your agency to be? What will your day-to-day look like? Are you planning on working on the clients by yourself, or do you want to build a large team? Will it be in an office or fully remote? Are you okay with being glued to your computer 24/7, or do you want a more passive, hands-off business model? Your desired outcome directly affects the way you're going to price your services. For example, you might think, I want to make 1 million a year. But if you're charging hourly, you're going to need to charge a lot per hour to hit that number, and you'll probably be working non-stop to reach that goal. So it's important to think about how you want your day-to-day to look, how much money you want to make, and how your agency is going to be structured. Now, the first pricing model we're going to discuss is project-based work. This is where a client comes to you for a specific task. Maybe they need a new website, want you to edit their Google Ads campaigns, or require a big SEO push to get their site ranking higher on Google. With this model, the client tells you what they need, and you price the project accordingly. For example, you might say, I'm going to build your website with 25 pages or 100 pages, and this is what I'll charge you. The best way to approach project-based work is to figure out how much you want to charge per hour, then estimate how long the project will take. Let's say you want to charge £50 or £100 per hour. You calculate the time and give the client a flat project fee based on that. Platforms like Fiverr and Upwork are full of freelancers and agencies doing this kind of work. It's a one-time project, they get it done, deliver it, and sometimes that leads to more projects or even full-time work with the client. Now, here are the pros to project-based pricing. First, you can increase your rates over time as you deliver more value. If the client is happy with your work and you're getting them good results, you can gradually start charging more. Another advantage is that if you're getting consistent project work, you can start hiring people to help with these projects. For example, if a client is buying a certain number of blog posts or web pages each month, you can hire out the work, add your margin on top, and scale that way. Many agencies still operate on this model, handling large projects with in-house staff or contractors, and they make it profitable by hiring for the projects and adding their own margin. However, there are cons to this model as well. If you're doing all the work yourself, there's only so much time in the day. Projects can start piling up, and before you know it, you're working 24/7 and heading towards burnout. Another downside is that project-based work can limit how much you can earn. While you can raise your rates, there's a point where you price yourself out of the market. The client might find someone cheaper to do the same work, and suddenly you're competing with others who are willing to do the project for less. Another way you can price a local agency is through the rank and rent model. Essentially, you're creating an asset like a website using the skills you'd normally apply for another company. For example, a company might come to you and say, I want you to get me results on Google Ads or generate a certain number of leads through Facebook ads. Or maybe they want you to rank their website at the top of Google. But with rank and rent, you're building your own assets instead. You could be building assets through Facebook ads, which might even be for a made-up company, or doing the same through Google Ads or SEO. But once you've created these assets, you'll start generating leads through ads or SEO. Let's say you create a website for a local plumber, get it ranking and start generating leads. Then you reach out to local plumbers offering them the leads. If they're interested in more work, you can offer them the entire website or a long-term lead flow. You basically rent out the asset to them, like digital real estate. You set up a virtual number, plug it into the asset, and the plumber receives the calls and lead forms. You can charge something like £1,000 to £2,000 a month depending on the industry. They're essentially renting your asset while you maintain control, making it a source of passive income. Once you have a few sites generating leads, charging clients monthly becomes pretty hands-off. And because you own the asset, there's no company breathing down your neck asking what you've done on their site. If the company you're renting to messes around with payments or just isn't a good fit, you simply unplug their contact info from the asset and move on to find another business. You're not tied to them like you would be with a typical retainer model, where all the work you've done is for their website. Here, you own the asset and you can plug in another business at any time. Now let's talk about some of the downsides. If you're doing this with Facebook or Google ads, you're the one paying for the ads, meaning you take on more financial risk. And if you're doing it with SEO, it can take time for the site to rank, sometimes months before it starts generating leads. You'll also have to find businesses that want these leads, so you might have to pick up the phone and pitch your asset to local companies. These are some of the cons of the rank and rent model, but it's a powerful way to create long-term passive income while maintaining control over the assets. Next, you've got the retainer model, which is a bit more traditional. This is where, as an agency, you charge people a retainer, a set amount of money each month. So you're basically saying, we're going to work on your website every month doing X, Y, and Z, or run ads and get you a certain number of leads. You could charge £1,000, £3,000, £5,000, whatever it is, and you're working from that retainer-based model. Now, when it comes to structuring these retainer models, you can charge by output. So for example, you could say, we're going to charge you £2,000 a month and do X, Y, and Z on your website or ads each month. Or you could charge by the hour, something like, we charge £100 an hour, so we're going to work 20 hours a month on your site, and that becomes your retainer model. You can also charge by keyword, especially if you're working with local SEO or ads. Let's say you're working for a roofer in Hertfordshire and you want to rank them for roofer Hertfordshire. You charge them based on keeping that keyword ranking higher, whether through ads, local map packs, or SEO. One of the biggest pros of the retainer model is that it can scale pretty easily. For example, if you're charging £500 or £2,000 a month, you can work out how many clients you need to hit your target. If you want to make £50,000 a month and you're charging £500 per client, you need 100 clients. If you're charging £2,000 per client, you need a lot fewer to hit that same target. Another advantage is that you can outsource a lot of the work to contractors. Let's say you're charging by output. You promise X amount of blogs, link building, or service pages per month. You can hire contractors on platforms like Upwork to handle the work for you, building up a team that's either remote or in-house. That way you can grow your agency without doing all the heavy lifting yourself. The retainer model opens up more opportunities to sell additional services. You can pitch clients on new videos, new ads, or whatever else you think their business could benefit from. Since they already trust you and you're regularly working on their account, it's much easier to upsell them on new services and products. But of course, there are cons too. Clients tend to breathe down your neck a lot. They'll ask questions like, what have you done this month? Or how are we getting on? And this happens especially in the first few months when clients tend to get cold feet. They want to know where you're allocating time, so you'll need to be prepared with reports. Tools like Search Atlas or Agency Analytics are great for that. You can pull all your data into neat reports and send them off to clients to keep them updated. Clients will also ask a lot of questions like, you built this blog for me, what exactly did you do? Or you ran this ad, now what's the plan moving forward? So that's something you'll need to deal with regularly. But keep in mind that this model requires a lot of manpower. If you're running a local SEO agency, for example, you've got to make sure the titles, descriptions, and everything else are spot on. If you're running ad campaigns, there's only so much one person can handle. Someone needs to keep an eye on the campaigns, target the right keywords, and ensure everything is constantly optimized. And when you scale up to handling dozens of clients, whether it's 100 clients paying £500 a month or 50 clients paying £2,000 a month, you'll need people to manage everything. You'll have to manage these campaigns, ensure everything gets done on time, and report back to the clients. At that point, you'll likely need project managers or team leads to keep everything on track. Next, you've got the performance-based model. With this approach, you might say to a company, look, I see you're making $500,000 a year. My goal is to increase your revenue by additional 300,000 or 400,000. The key here is that you want to get paid based on performance. You're putting in all the work to drive business through the door, and when they close those projects, you just want a percentage from each one. That's what performance-based models are all about. If you're considering scaling this approach, I'd recommend not spreading yourself too thin with hundreds of different clients. Instead, focus on a handful of solid companies, maybe 5 or even just 1 or 2 really good ones. This way you can integrate yourself into their business and work towards driving substantial growth. It's crucial to partner with a company that has quality products and services you can genuinely sell. From there, you can start building assets, ads, and SEO campaigns to drive traffic and significant business to them. Ultimately, you want to help them scale up as much as possible so that you can earn a revenue share from everything. One of the pros of this model is the potential for scalability. If the company has a great product or service, there's almost infinite room to grow. Plus, you can work with fewer clients and still get paid a lot more. However, the downside is that you might face a high churn rate. Some clients may want to cancel after 6 months, or they might not see the value and decide they don't want to pay anymore. In a performance-based model, you can work with just one client and build £1 million agency if it's the right fit. But on the flip side, you're heavily reliant on that company to close deals and drive business. You're depending on their sales processes and infrastructure, which means it's vital to choose the right client. clients. Honestly, we've tried the performance-based model ourselves and didn't have huge success with it. But I believe it can work much better for e-commerce businesses because the results are more tangible. You can drive sales through ads or SEO and directly monitor the conversion rates, making it easy to see the sales coming through from your efforts. In our experience, the performance-based model seems to struggle in the service-based industry, but there are definitely agencies out there making it work, particularly in the local market. We just haven't found our sweet spot with it yet. But if someone is dedicated to this model, I can see how it could really pay off, especially when you get royalties based on the projects you win. Overall, it's potentially a solid pricing model, particularly for e-commerce businesses. Next up is the pay-per-lead model. This is essentially when a company pays you for generating leads for their business. The focus here is purely on leads. You get paid for every lead that comes in. Now, your job as an agency is to become really good at generating these leads and driving business for other companies. Because let's face it, that's what people care about, their bottom line and getting more work. From my experience with this model, I can tell you that while we've generated hundreds of leads for businesses and charged per lead, scaling this can be quite tricky. The pros of a pay-per-lead model are straightforward. You only get paid for the leads you generate. There's potential for scalability here, especially depending on the industry. For instance, if you're working with a solar company or even something like personal injury claims, you can charge a premium per lead because these jobs can be quite expensive. However, the cons can be pretty significant too. You might think that business owners will share your mentality of wanting to scale as much as possible, but often that's not the case. Many businesses have a cap in mind, even if they say, just give me as many leads as you can. If you start sending them tons of leads, they may begin to question the quality. They might say things like, such and such didn't answer the phone, or this lead was no good. It can get frustrating when you hear that 10% or even 40% of the leads aren't converting. This can turn into a bit of a nightmare to manage, especially if you're juggling multiple clients. It can drain a lot of your time. They start scrutinizing the leads, telling you that the quality isn't what they expected, and it can really suck the energy out of the process. Plus, there's the issue of invoicing. Once you start dealing with even a handful of clients, the volume of leads can skyrocket, leading to a mountain of invoicing work. You need to keep track of how many leads each client gets and sift through them to eliminate any spam. It becomes a logistical headache, and honestly, we found that this model hasn't worked well for us in the long run. So now that we've gone through all of these pricing models and their pros and cons, you might be wondering which ones have worked best for us. Well, we primarily focus on two different models, the rent and rank model and the retainer-based model. With the rent and rank model, we essentially create websites, rank them on Google, and then run ads through them. We charge companies a flat fee to rent the website, and honestly, this works really well for us. It's a pretty passive form of income and a fantastic business model overall. On the other hand, we also utilize the retainer-based model. We have quite a few clients who pay us on a retainer basis. For different types of businesses, we structure our retainers differently. For example, we charge yearly for hosting services, which includes building and hosting their website, managing their emails, and taking care of all that back-end stuff. Essentially, they pay us annually to retain our services. We also have retainer models for Google Ads management and local SEO. We basically tell our customers, here's what we're going to do for you every month. We have a checklist of tasks we complete monthly, and we compile that into a report that we send out to the client. They can see exactly what we've been working on each month. But like I mentioned, both the rank and rent and retainer models have their pros and cons. For us, these two models have been the most effective. They've allowed us to scale our agency and serve a growing number of clients. And that's it. All the main charging models covered, so you can make a decision on which is the best approach for you or your agency. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so you never miss our future content. If you want more tips on running an agency and getting more qualified leads, then there's a link in the description where we've built a series of videos just for you. Also, drop us a comment in the comment section below with your thoughts or any questions you have. We read and respond to all of the comments we get. Have a great day. I'll see you on the next one.